All right, all right. Hello, hello. Welcome everyone back to a Florida beach style edition of the Happy Hour Show. Big K over there doing got the vibes going on.
Yeah,
You are in your own wonderful tropical climate. Is that not correct, sir?
Indeed, sir. Indeed.
Motley Investor, how you doing over there?
I'm doing great, bro. I'm just here to represent the NASCAR community.
The NASCAR community.
Daytona 500, we're going for race number 2, Las Vegas.
You a fan, bro?
I am now. As long as there's a hex car, I will always be a fan.
Yes. Well, it was
I
an
can promise you
experience. It was such a cool experience with you guys. Vince, how you doing?
Doing all right, man. I'm in sunny Phoenix, Arizona right now. I drove all the way over here from Cali. Just,
hey, we're in
hang
Phoenix.
out with Crypto Sparbook again. Oh, nice.
And speaking of Crypto Sparbook, Senor Agape, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm good. Just got into Phoenix this morning, flew in from LA, and this is our last workshop of the tour. So then we head to Vegas to, not sleep for 2 weeks.
Gotcha. Or maybe 2 months. I mean, because we have a lot going on.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. How long we got you for, by the way? Just want
I'm good for 15 minutes, probably.
Okay. All right. Well, just real quick, let's just go over the Daytona experience because I want to touch on that and kind of like lead into what's coming up next. DJ Cryptomatic, what's up? Thank you for the pre-show and the raid. And Mexican Girl, what's going on? I'm sure coming over from DJ Kurkowski. So we didn't make the show, obviously. I did a kind of like a teardown video of kind of like what went down, and that's all that. But from the very beginning, we've always said that this is a longer term plan than just all in on a qualifying race, and we are now exercising those options, and it's an exciting time. But before we get into those fun little options, as we get more viewers in here, Big K, how was your Daytona experience, my man?
I had a great time. I mean, I will say that it wasn't an event that I ever thought I would attend in my entire life. And I didn't know most everything that there was to not know about racing in general. So I learned a ton. I had a much better time than I ever, like I said, expected as somebody, that attends events could think I was going to have. So like all around, I think I met a ton of Hexicans that were super awesome. That was a lot of fun. I am like currently in the process of onboarding a whole bunch more that I met there that are excited about whether they be part of the team that was racing with us or others along the way. I mean, we definitely met a bunch of. Yeah, you'd be surprised. There's quite a bit of Hexicans that have been blossoming out of this endeavor, and ones that are excited and interested, that have lots of good questions, and I'm excited to give them the answers. So,
Motley Investor, I believe your Daytona response may sound a little bit like Big K, and the fact that you never thought that you'd enjoy such a thing. But how was your experience?
I mean, I always had it on my bucket list at some point because I grew up in Florida, so the Daytona has always kind of been a big thing. And I've had a couple buddies that went, and I mean, I'm always down for I was going to at least chalk it up for like a tailgate experience. Just go there, party, get a couple drinks in you, have a good time, maybe watch a cool couple wrecks. But now it was kind of cool. Like, I don't think I could ever go back to that maybe because now we sponsored a car. We got to be in the pits. We got to be in the garages. We got to talk to the drivers. We got to talk to the crew. We got to see how everything works. We got to learn how the actual racing goes and a lot of technicals that I didn't know about before. So it's kind of hard to go back to the pleb status of thinking of just going to tailgate and maybe the back of my buddy's truck and crack a few like Natty Ice or something back in the college days. So, yeah, it was an amazing time. Had a lot of blasts. Crypto Sparbuck was out there. They rented out a Lambo, so you guys probably saw the videos of us launching little hex care packages and a T-shirt cannon. That was way more fun than I expected.
Yeah, people love that.
Best investment ever was getting that T-shirt cannon.
Yeah.
How late in the game did you get that?
Wait, what? I had it since the beginning.
Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know if it was like a spontaneous thing or it was just like you went in with like armor, and artillery.
No, I mean that was the thing to the get-go, right? Like we knew potentially not qualifying, as much as it sucked, an emotional roller coaster it was, because we started off behind, we didn't get the draft. Then what was it, Graza had the penalty. We moved ahead, and then he just got in the draft with the cars with the faster draft, and then it came down to last half lap. So that was literally that was the worst emotional roller coaster ever. But like we knew that was always a potential, right? So that's why you were saying earlier we had backup plans for other races that were in the contract in case we didn't qualify. It wasn't just reliant on the hex car getting in. There was about 100 hexagons that came, and we had 250 shirts, stickers, cards, pamphlets, t-shirt cannons. We had a stuff set up in the infield, like there was nonstop onboarding the entire event. And stuff like that only gets amplified when we go to Vegas. And now we go from 100 hexagons to like 1,000 hexagons. So that's what I'm looking forward to most with this new race.
Yeah. And the demographic that we hit in being in the pits, I think allowed us to onboard bigger bags. It's, we have a video coming out, but we have two people that we interacted with that put over $700,000. Just for the two people. And then we have a couple other people in the group that had said that there are a couple other hexagons, that went in for over a couple 100,000. So like from Daytona, we now know that over $1 million USD was put into Hex after Daytona, from Daytona.
So what you're saying is we're all in the green and everything else is gravy.
Correct. And
it's a snowball.
Can't get much better than that.
And because it only takes a couple, of people that you meet. That's kind of the thing that I've been talking about is opportunity. This got us opportunities. Networking is, I think, the best type of, marketing you could do. So, on that note, those were the results, the hard results that finally were coming, because people would like message me or they'd say, hey, this person onboarded, this person onboarded. So it was only till the aftermath that we found out about these other results, which was cool. So,
yeah. And awesome. Before we get back to you, Ricky, on our next level of this operation, Nardo, man, how you doing down there, brother?
Oh, I'm doing well. Trying to stay cool.
Oh, it's a terrible issue in Florida, isn't it?
It is. It gets quite warm.
Well,
what are you gonna do?
Real quick, man, how was your Daytona experience? I hung around with you a good bit, the 2 days that I was there, but man, it just seemed like you were just immersed in the whole thing. You were having a great time. How was it?
I was. This is stuff I've looked forward to my whole life. Being a collision technician, it's like the top echelon of my career. I had tried out for Hendrix Motorsports when I was a young lad out of college and never got to that point. But just to smell the turbo blue in the morning, the exhaust, everything about it. I mean,
you could feel it. You can hear it.
Correct.
It's. So
I'm getting goosebumps right now just talking about it. And pretty much the entire week I was there was just 30 plus different goosebump days, man. Looking at their tools, anything like that, because that was my career. And I love it. Absolutely love it. And then to onboard the techs after the race one night, I just told them, man, give me 8 minutes, write this stuff down and hook them up. And that's what I did with Gerber and Caliber Collision. As I would go around, I would just put the techs against each other. And these are the guys with a little extra money. And they're very focused individuals. They don't look left or right. They stay true to the team, and they follow through year after year. So it was really just incredible meeting everyone. And then it was right at the end, I saw these two old guys by the RVs, and I was like, man, it's kind of cold. You guys should have a hat on. Don't get sick. Turns out that was fucking Carl Long, the owner of everything. So us just being good people, man, and who we are, we just need to be in front of individuals, networking, just like Ricky said. That's my best attribute, is just being in front of people.
Nice. Well, as we kind of alluded to earlier, I want to have Ricky on here, especially Motley, Big K. Everybody's been involved in this thing. I guess I'll go down to you, Ricky. So obviously, you put the word out on Twitter yesterday. So there are a couple races coming up. You want to get into, I guess, the first one in Vegas and take it from there?
Yeah. Seems to be pretty straightforward. The Xfinity Series is March 5th, so that's the one below the NASCAR Cup Series. Opportunity presented itself with a couple of the people in this chat right here, and we all wanted to make it happen, and so it was made happen to be able to have this sponsorship. Didn't need to go back to the community. We rolled it all into this coming next Saturday because we felt like the Hexian community, it just seemed right to do it in perfect timing to where it wouldn't even conflict with a day of the Hex conference. It could be the day before, and just a real special weekend for everybody. And so we're contacting. I was just on the phone with Craig from the Speedway in Vegas. He's checking on how many infield passes the Hex community can buy. They're only looking like $59. It's called a garage pass. And so they would be into the infield, and
Not cheaper than Daytona.
Way cheaper.
we'd all be able to be in the infield, on the garage pass. Obviously, there's hot passes with being on the track, but then there's just infield passes. So that would be, and then we would probably look at getting like a tent and, put it up there, and we all can just congregate, hang out, be a big Hex meetup, and then, obviously onboard and do our thing from there, or people come up to us and we onboard. I noticed with Maddie's car and the Lambo, we onboarded a bunch of people there, when people would come up. It's a conversation starter, right? So definitely. I think just us posted
the DeLorean
up.
You're speaking of, right?
Yeah, the DeLorean, just being posted up helps in general. So yeah, we're checking on that. I'm going to tweet immediately to you guys when I have that information. And then Talladega, April 24th, another amazing event. Some fun facts on that, because I commented on it yesterday, because someone asked, how come we lost, essentially? Why was our car slow? And it has to do with the setup of your car, a big part of it, right? So how a team sets up, and maybe Nardo and Cabana can go a little bit more higher level or detailed. It's just, some people are more pro at it than others and have access to, the manufacturer setup. So we lent out tires to the champion of Daytona 500 who won, and the duels. Both of those teams are Penske cars. Both of those team win, right? They used our tires. So they owe JJ Yeley's team a huge favor for that. And so all they asked was, hey, help us. Sorry, comments come in and I get distracted. It says, help us with a setup. That's all we want. We want to get us set up for Talladega. And so for Talladega, the Penske team who won Daytona 500 is going to set up our car, which is great. I mean, that's huge in regards to strategy and position and having the right parts and all that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just rambling now, but those are the two events coming up. And, yeah, take it from there, guys.
No, that was cool. That was cool, though. It was just a random act of kindness, right? Like, we obviously didn't need the tires, and then so we lent it to the Penske team, and they ended up winning the whole damn thing. What was the guy's name, Cabana? Was it like Austin
Cindric?
Yeah, so Austin Cindric ended up winning, and in a way, the Hex car's tires were on that car.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yes,
that's right.
Seriously.
But being nice and paying it forward like that opened up the door to opportunities of like us moving into a bigger team, and like now we have access to them helping set up our car, tweaking it, and get it as right as it can be for a big race like Talladega. So it's kind of cool watching that the niceties that we did for them when it didn't serve us anything at the time, but then they went on to win and they were grateful for it, and now we get to reap the benefits of that in Talladega. So I thought it was pretty fitting to the Hex story.
Yep. I just wanted to add a quick other cool outcome from all this. iRacing it's not because there's something else coming with something else that we can't talk about yet, but there's this other thing called iRacing.com. It's a real life simulator for NASCAR drivers. So NASCAR drivers will build a rig simulator in their house, like Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I want one.
All these guys.
I want one.
There's over 2 million. There's over 2 million users online. And somebody, not a Hexican, took the skins of the Hex car and built a Hex car for iRacing. So you can actually go into iRacing and you can race as the Hex car. And I just that's pretty damn cool. You know,
That's awesome.
Took initiative and did that. And now that has 2 million eyeballs just for that static, right? In that game forever. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. was just racing with JJ the other day in iRacing.com. So these guys are in it every day.
iRacing it's a huge deal, and it's kind of like an open source version of the game. If anybody saw the Fox Gaming or Fox Sports Gaming special, it was like a half hour right after the qualifying laps, I believe, or might have been the duels. One of those nights, Wednesday or Thursday of last week, they went through the history of the games and Papyrus and then iRacing. iRacing is what was on the major networks during the virus. Since none of the drivers, were at the track, none of the fans could go. What did they do? They went to this iRacing platform. They actually broadcast a virtual race of professional drivers in these cars, and it got huge exposure. And the whole thing just keeps going up. So it's so cool to just actually have a skin in that game as well.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's obviously something unofficially official that we can't wait to share with you guys on that front too. So
yeah, just wait. It came along with essentially the Hex car being in like 3 different races. It's just not confirmed yet, so can't talk about it.
Stuff in the pipeline. That's all we're saying. So yeah, Motley, while you're on, or while you were talking there, I just remembered somebody tweeted about the best seats for Vegas, and you said something about the infield. So is there a strategy there for Hexicans?
I don't know. That's better answered by Ricky. Can they purchase those tickets now, Ricky?
Yeah, I talked to Craig. He's checking to see how many infield tickets are left. I told him between 200 and 500 that we're going to need, but they're $59. So that would be for the infield. And then whoever, if we're going to get an RV or a tent space, you get a certain amount of people that are allowed to be a part of that too. But at the end of the day, $59 to come in with everyone else, that's perfect. So I'm just waiting for confirmation of how many they have left, and immediately I'm going to tweet it out ASAP with the link. You can buy it here, meet us at this time, and we should be good to go.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you are somebody who's going to going to be in the stands, if you feel like getting stand tickets, then yes, the higher the seat, the better.
Yeah,
right. But it'll be harder because of like the way the infield. I've learned that one this time. It's hard to interact with people that are on the infield if you're in the stands. There's because it's like a raceway in between.
There's a bridge that you need.
You have to literally go under. You have to go
You
under the
gotta
damn
go
track
under.
just to get back out to the stand.
Yes.
So
I see David Morales.
One or the other.
Yeah.
David Morales is in the chat. Can you tell me, David, where the Turn 4 tunnel is, please?
Bro, he's everywhere.
Also, you guys need good walking shoes too.
Yeah,
Oh,
a lot of
absolutely.
shuttling
Comfortable shoes.
back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't think the Las Vegas Speedway is anywhere near as big as Daytona 500, though. Correct?
I mean, it's a decent sized track, but
Yeah.
it's nowhere.
Do you know how large?
They hold EDC Vegas there and all the festivals there, so it was pretty big.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, just for I guess logistics purposes, we get questions like, oh well, why is JJ in the 66 now? It's a different series. So if you go back to Daytona, he raced on Saturday, and there was confusion about that, and I believe he raced in this 66 car, which is Toyota,
Yeah.
and he actually placed 13th, and so that was really cool to see. So that's the Xfinity series, and that's the series that he's going to be running in Vegas. So he's going to be running that 66 number, as Motley tweeted out earlier today. The teams own the numbers, so since we're in a different series, we couldn't get the 55, so we're in the 66 this week, but the car is
Talladega.
just dope.
Talladega will have 55, and that's back in the Cup Series. So we get
The
there.
Toyota Supra for all you Supra fans out there.
Pretty cool.
I used to love the Supra, so he'll be racing in that. Yeah, and then the Ford Mustang back with Talladega.
Yeah.
Real quick, other note, just for non-NASCAR fans and also just no one who understands physics like I didn't. So the draft, like I genuinely did not understand or believe, oh, he caught the draft. Like, what? Oh, cool. Like, what does that actually mean? But in iRacing, I experienced it where when you go behind another car going that fast, you literally catch up. I didn't understand the physics behind it. Because I'm like, if everyone's going 187 around a circle and they're all not, how do they pass each other? How does that work? So I guess, I mean, if anyone has an even more molecular breakdown, that'd be great. But at the end of the day, if you catch behind cars that are going that fast, you like, I mean, what is it, guys? Because it's real. What the fuck is happening?
The fuck is it?
I mean, is it a wind sock? Like, is it a wormhole? Like, how does
A little
it happen?
bit.
It's like a wind tunnel,
Yeah.
so that the air is broken for you, but it's
insane.
you know, even if you're in front of it, it forms this like, you know, wind tunnel essentially, and everybody, you're breaking the plane for everybody around you, and that's the other thing. And I think I just touched on this. Like this
Aerodynamics.
last Friday is, you know, JJ was in a draft, I guess you can even call it, with maybe two other
With
cars.
the three cars.
You need a lot of cars to achieve really good draft speed. And when you have a freight train of about 15 cars or 10 cars coming up behind you at about
So much
10
faster.
miles per hour, everybody was like, well, why didn't JJ just pull over and block them? Well, he would have wrecked everybody if they would have done that. Like their reaction time would not have compensated for, you know, him doing that. And it's just a no-no in NASCAR in general. So
Right.
yeah, there's some
Well, Kinetics thinks we should have had a red turtle shell or a mushroom for a boost.
Probably would have helped.
But good call.
Maybe a blue
Little
shell.
nitrous bun.
And maybe next time.
I was looking for those little question mark
Okay,
boxes.
good.
I didn't see any on the course. So.
All right. Well, I'm glad more people actually understand physics. It's great. But some people were wondering, so I figured I'd create that point.
Yeah, and the draft also too, you can use it for fuel efficiency, you know, because you'll notice in these races, a lot of it's just endurance. They want to get to these last 50 laps, and then the actual race starts. So there's so many different things that can happen. Next time you're on the highway, I mean, I know we fly a lot, but when you're on the highway, you know, get behind one of those semis and use a whole tank of gas running behind it, and you'll probably average 50 to 70 miles more than if you were just by yourself. Yeah, there is.
You got to be pretty close. So not driving advice, not financial advice, not life advice, but the math checks out. So just wanted to put that disclaimer in there. So
yeah, I was NASCAR driving up there before the race started, so I was
getting ready.
Right on.
Yeah, Sexy Cat does agree. All right, so I think we touched on the main news items. So we got Las Vegas coming up in two Saturdays from now. So a week from tomorrow already. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
see you guys
Talladega,
in Vegas.
Talladega is a cup race. So the Xfinity race next weekend in Las Vegas on that Saturday. It's kind of, I believe it's Motley put it this way. It's an event for the Hexkins. We're in Vegas. Me, probably not personally, but the Hexkin population is in Vegas. What a cool moment. And it's the day before, so it's not even on that Sunday, the starting day of that event. So you can get out a little early, enjoy it, maybe network, and maybe send some people over
to the conference.
Conference, right?
Yeah.
And Motley, also, I'm calling you out a lot because you had a good Twitter thread too about ideas for that. And I think, you know, if anybody has some ideas for how to onboard while we're out there and join the actual racing event with the conference, that'd be awesome too. So
yeah, let us know.
Yeah. So all right, Vince, how you doing over there?
Doing all right. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think it was Hexy Quinn that was like, is Vincent in timeout? Like, what do you do?
Guys, I gotta roll to the workshop later.
Bye, bro.
Yeah, I'll probably have to head up soon too.
Oh, you workshopping?
Yeah,
All right. Well, you're gonna miss the spice, man.
the spice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Ooh.
speaking of spice,
I
I was
like it
actually
already.
watching. What's the spinoff of the Mandalorian? It's like the story of Boba Fett or
The Book
whatever.
of Boba Fett.
Yeah,
No.
lot of spice in that series. I just binge
Spice.
watched it like last night.
Nice. I like
Did
it.
Did it involve claiming of a token?
No, you might as well just get into it, damn it.
Okay.
We're gonna do this
minting
awkward
of a token.
segue.
So, I mean, I'm cool with naming names because I love everybody in this community, and we can all disagree and have our own takes, and that's pretty much nothing's off limits on this show. It never really has been. So, if you're not aware or aware, Maddie put out a video, I believe it was this morning, talking about the OA. Essentially, what would be a good term? Rugging those hex stakers that go to Pulse Chain. But that, I want to be fair and careful.
Blacklisting, maybe.
Blacklisting.
You claim your Hedron, your hex gets omitted from the fork, which is sorry, Maddie, that's the most absurd thing
Yeah,
I've ever
I don't
heard.
think
So,
I mean, let's just look at precedent. Like all I got to do is look at precedent.
That's what I would like.
There was a previous token preying on hexagons, brain space. And there's two of these tokens I'm thinking of in my mind, really, that like we're willing to airdrop or use similar tactics. And like many people thought that because of this, that like maybe not many people, some people speculated that the OA was going to do something like claim it all at like all of their free stuff and then dump the price. Did the OA do that? No, it did not. So like, if that's what the OA did before, expecting this project to be somehow special and cooler and deserve their attention, I don't believe that's the case.
Agreed. And you pretty much just went over my reasoning for that is precedent. And it's like, as an origin address, would you also want to set your own precedent of be like, okay, well, I'm going to act on this one. And then somebody is just like, okay, well, if they did that, then I'm going to get the OA to act on this. Just screw around in a sense, possibly. Yeah,
and
or just the OA doesn't have time for that. I would certainly think so. But.
Well, it's another thing is that like if you're talking about like having expectations, then like if the OA does something, then you might expect them to do something else similar at a later point in time, like actual expectations. If they do nothing at all, you can't really, I mean, maybe they didn't even know, maybe they did, maybe they didn't. There's just a lot of ambiguity in it, Whereas like if they make an action to sign some contract statement for anywhere, then like there's some sort of expectation of potential profit or something like later based on what they do later. So like I just don't understand why on earth the OA would put themselves at any sort of place of jeopardy for that sort of maneuver. I just doesn't seem anywhere near reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, there was a good discussion today on Twitter Spaces. So Funding Jim was in it. Alex from Hedron jumped in, and I think the best way to put it, and I believe Alex said this afternoon, this way I've always thought of Hedron. I don't see it as kind of this hex harmer. I see it, if it's used properly, as a safety net. And it's, kind of, the trading of stakes and encapsulating of stakes. And that's how I see it. I don't see like this thing where, oh, well, it incentivizes, certain behaviors, and hexagons should be penalized just out of a proactive kind of stance by the OA. That, to me, that just makes no sense. And if something like that happened, and I'm not saying who the OA is, but if the OA acted like that in that manner towards hexagons and nuked everything on the Pulse chain that had interacted with this, you thought that we are over or have just recently gotten over or in the process of over people calling the creator, founder of Hex, Richard Hart, a scammer, that would all come back again in a tidal wave of
Bro, that would make
BS.
me want to fund Hex.
Yeah.
To omit Hex, that free claim, that makes no sense. It literally just destroys the system we built. Like that's why I find the statement just so outlandish. To even pose that as a theory really kind of drives me nuts, because it literally just breaks everything. Like Maddie's was like trying to justify it as saving the system, but it literally just destroys it in one single.
Well, I mean, it doesn't, like, saving what? Here's the thing that I tried to explain to him too when we were in person. Like, the way that Hex is, the setup of things right now and the breakdown of the system, like going forward, first of all, how many stakes, how many T shares overall in the system from of liquid that's out there could possibly be staked through these encapsulated stake systems? Very little compared to the overall T shares that there are. Very little. I mean, that coupled with the fact that, like, I mean, if like the ones, even previous ones, the Gnosis safe wallets that have this are still much smaller compared to all the overall stakes in Hex. So like this is a small niche case, you know, for a small niche user, and the market for it, like, it wouldn't actually be profitable to trade these stakes for like at least a couple years in the future when they would have some time to appreciate. So like you're talking about a niche period of time with a small amount of wallets that are actually set up for this, with a small amount of users that are willing to take that extra counterparty risk. I mean, like, it's not not relevant enough to make the OA do anything, or anybody else to have any sort of concern about their own Hex stakes or their T-shares gaining or losing value.
That's the funny thing. People don't realize that encapsulated stakes essentially already exist with how the Gnosis safe works. Like, you essentially, if you're staked in that wallet, your wallet is essentially one big like encapsulated stake at this point.
Yeah, it's wrapped in the Gnosis.
But I mean, that's not to say like Staker has millions of Hex locked up in it, but comparative to before they existed, the amount of actual T-shares that they hold are so small.
I was just saying like a form of encapsulated stakes already technically exists with the Gnosis safe. So like there exists in like V2. Like, I mean, Staker's already talked about potentially having that ability to transfer your wallet and all that stuff, because your stakes are technically encapsulated in the Gnosis safe. So it technically already exists. And again, I mean, I don't necessarily see the harm or anything in this. I don't think anyone really knows too, right? So to come so adamantly on one side or the other, I just don't think is the way to go about it. Just do your research, make sure, like, I think Coffee put a good thread out there today, read the code, know what you're signing. Like, you can claim or mint. I think the claim, you just have to do a signature, so you don't have to do anything crazy. And then if you want to mint your tokens later, then you can mint them. Just know what you're doing and make the decision for yourself. But to come out and just make outlandish statements, I just feels a little unnecessary.
Yeah, I mean, like, if you have some actual models and that like show something, you know, some way with the numbers that we're currently working with in the system, that this could be some runaway issue, sure, bring it to the table. But like, I've seen nobody put any actual numbers to paper that shows that there's any sort of worry whatsoever. In fact, like I said, everything that I have looked at,
very small fraction,
it's small for small potatoes. This is niche and really shouldn't be like railroaded is such a terrible thing either, you know. I mean,
and honestly, if Maddie's so concerned about this and like this, he really doesn't like, which is fair. That's fine. That's to his own. He should implement what Richard was saying early on. Like, if you don't like something, or you view something as a scam or not good for the ecosystem, ghost it. Just don't talk about it. You guys don't remember, like, we had this whole issue for you newer Hexicans. We had this whole issue and the exact conversations about encapsulated stakes a while ago with Hex Bay, and there's a whole other group of developers that were working on encapsulated stakes. They already had the contract and the code written, and it was in the process of waiting to get audited. I don't know what the status of that is, but then it just kind of faded off. But like, if you truly want to negate something, don't give it life, don't give it energy, don't do a stream on it, don't go on Twitter Spaces about it. Like, that's not how you negate something. Like, even Alex, the creator of Hedron, said himself, it's just like, yeah, you know, if it doesn't have a use case or people don't want to use this stuff, like eventually it's just not gonna amount to much of anything. And that's what happens, right? It's like the ecosystem will decide for itself over time.
Yeah.
But don't give it,
I mean,
if you have
yeah,
a problem with it, don't give it energy, especially when, Maddie, you have a platform and you continue to give it more and more energy. Look, now we're even talking about it when we're just doing a Daytona stream. So, I mean, there you go.
Yeah, I mean that's 100%, and I mean I mentioned that earlier that like it's a niche thing with the like its profitability is a small time period and requires a community or a network of people, like some sort of fee market for this to exist. So like people be like if no one gives it air, then like no one's gonna, even if you build the platform, then like no one's gonna be there to use it. So like
Well,
I just
this is
and like
This is the crazy thing with the mechanism of encapsulated stakes, because to maximize your rewards on it, generally you want to have the maximum time length, right? So like Quattro Cinco stakes. And like you said, there's a very small time window where people are even going to be eyeballing those encapsulated stakes to even purchase, right? Like you have to probably fulfill years and years of that stake before people are even contemplating snagging up your Quattro Cinco stake. And you're going to give it up at, this was talked about in the Twitter space, you're going to give it up at a much lesser value, way lesser value than if you just saw the stake to fruition. So like this value transfer, like it'll still exist in the ecosystem. It'll just be a little bit different with how the encapsulated stake works. But again, like Big K was saying, you're going to have to wait many, many, many years before even these first couple minuscule stakes in the ecosystem are even really looked at to be bought, in my opinion.
Going back to the claim thing real quick, like it kind of harks back to the adoption amplifier effect, because at that time I remember a lot of the Bitcoin maxis were, they're saying crap like, like if you reclaim your hex, Richard's gonna steal all your Bitcoin and all that. But obviously that never happened.
That's true.
Yeah,
Somebody's just getting beachy out there. I like that. That looks like fun sports. I saw the paraglider pass by. That looked fun. But yeah, that never came to.
Yeah,
They were drafting.
They were drafting. There was two. That's awesome.
Yeah. And now they're turning around, so they'll probably come back. But yeah.
Nice.
Sick.
Yeah, sorry for the visual distractions. Y'all are making great points, and the chat is all over it too. So, and props to Alex too for coming on and being as level-headed as he has been for being attacked for, I consider, it's going to happen, right? You put your face out there for something this big, and you got to expect it. And I think he's acted really well and responsibly so far.
And I think that just lends him more merit to a lot of people that are maybe interested in Hedron and haven't looked into it as much, or maybe they like Hedron, or maybe they're still on the fence. But I think just the way he's carried himself has already given people a lot more merit to even look into Hedron, because like you said, he's calm, cool, collected. Every time I've heard him talk, he's been composed and been nothing but a gentleman and very kind when, a lot of nasty stuff has been spewed to him. And again, if this works, doesn't work, it's kind of irrelevant, but he's been very good with how he handles himself in all these conversations. So definitely shout out to him and a lot of respect for him as far as that goes.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, to be able to take all those bullets and still show up each day, I mean, that goes to show what kind of character the guy is. I don't watch much of this stuff, but it's fascinating.
Well, this is the thing too. It's just like I really do like seeing stuff, and I know we've seen a lot of drama and issues and infighting and all this nonsense lately. But regardless, like I really do like seeing people build in the community, and then you have different philosophies on like, well, you shouldn't charge, or you should give the coins for free. And look, like, I mean, everyone's going to go about their own way. And are they right? Are you in the right to say if they're right or not? Like this, it's everyone's ability to go and do what they want to do. I'm a fan of build it right. And if you do it right, people will come, and people might get upset with charging fees. I get it. They're like, oh, they're selling hex, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's their hex to sell. So if they choose to do so, so be it. But with Pulse Chain, it's just a different beast where we are building a vertically integrated system. So like we need people to build. I do like the members in this community. I think they have more integrity than just about everyone else in the crypto space. So if someone's going to build something, I'd like it to come from within our community. So I think we just need to ease off a little bit on some of these projects. I mean, still give them the same scrutiny that we all did when we came into Hex, but you don't have to sit there and be nasty and do any sort of personal attacks or some of that shit that I see. It's not
Absolutely.
necessary.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah, because who's to say if any of us build something in the future, are these people really going to support us as well? Like, it's a huge character flaw that I see with a lot of individuals that cry foul like that. And that really doesn't exist out here in reality. You want to yell at a body shop or do something like that, we're going to come right outside, You're not going to yell.
You'll come out,
Right.
you'll roll your car out of the garage. It's like, here you go. Good
Yeah.
luck. Like,
Yeah, the real world just doesn't operate like this, man. Twitter is just a neat place, but it's also people need some help.
yeah.
I can agree
What's
on
up,
that.
Gary?
Hey,
Gary.
Gary.
What's up,
welcome.
guys?
How we doing, G?
I've been lurking in many chats, not active just because of my whereabouts and trying to enjoy this as much as I can, but I do out of entertainment, and this is also what I do, is I try to listen in and learn while I'm relaxing. So I've seen that you've been in on two of the major topics this week. One being Hedron, which we've been discussing, and another one which we can get into a little bit later. But your current take on this, the Hedron OA, should it act? If you've been listening, I think you might have come in late. We're not on board for any action, but what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's been going on the past couple of days. I've spent maybe like 4 hours total listening to and participating in the Twitter space stuff. Some of the time was the conversation was just organic and went there. It seemed like it was very organic. Didn't feel like it was a pile on. It was like, hey, let's talk about this because it's something that happens today, I think, as far as their launch. And then later, I noticed a lot of people were in that room again. And I was like, hey, what's going on? And I saw that Maddie had made his posts. I tried to absorb that in the background while I was listening to the live part of the Twitter space. And, as far as my position, I think has been one of practical pragmatism. It's one reason why I probably didn't go in even as heavily as I could have in Hex OA day 1, day 5, day 20, right? Because of a pragmatic scaling in mentality. And I think it's the same sort of thing with this. Now that I've been around Hex and hexagons and these influences by Richard's narratives and education and things like that, I think of the product of Hex very much as an element, as something on the periodic table of crypto. It has specific characteristics. It has specific abilities. It's a finished and modular. The consensus is separate. All the things that he's talked about as far as security model, vector risk, and things like that, right? So I think of it as elemental. Now, the position that I kept hearing today, as far as Maddie and some other, like echoes, were that it's breaking the value model of delayed gratification because you can exit out of a Hedron NFT that encapsulates or encapsulated stakes. This was discussed 2 years ago. Kyle has a YouTube video right now that you can go listen to. Firebun developed the code 6 months or a year ago, right? So this thing
between that,
So these already exist, and I remember that they didn't receive necessarily hate, and they didn't receive even backlash directly from Richard when he was aware that they existed. He actually just said it's not in his capacity at the moment to think about, right? Is that net positive? Is that net negative? Now, we're going to have all kinds of things that if you said that there's something on the periodic table, like, for example, gold, that just has properties, and the properties can have medical uses, and they can have technology conduction of electricity uses, and they can have reflection of solar rays off of the visor of a astronaut suit uses, right? They have uses. They have jewelry uses as well. We heard of that, obviously, in this recent debate. But they have utility and function based on how it's being applied. So if I am good steward of the product and I can tell the communities about the properties of Hex, the token, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with just being someone that proclaims the value of the element, that crypto element, that thing that's called Hex. And I'm fine personally with it being encapsulated. And I'm fine with people having liquidity access if they are quote unquote informed, right? I did this in medicine when it was clinical research. I had to have people sign 20-page long documents about why we're going to be drawing their blood so often to figure out if their diabetes medicine is working for them or it's the research stuff that's working for them. So I kind of think of it in that mentality. My effort, and I think the efforts of everybody in this room, is just to educate the people that are newbie, right? And say, hey, this is not a casino in our mindset. I think most OG people are staked. And I think that the staking model works when given time to work, as far as delayed gratification and all the narrative of price appreciation and keeping your weak ass hands from selling into a marketplace of FUD, right? Richard talks about this all the time. Yo, my weak hands. Oh, I got to drop it now, right? There's going to be a percentage of people that do that. There's the same percentage that participated in the Hourglass games. There's the same percentage that participated in a lot of other derivative products that use the element of hex. So I can be okay with Hedron existing, but I'm still going to be the one that proclaims I even heard something today that I could kind of get on board with, which is, even margin trading. The people that have you guys have heard this thing before 1,000 times. I'm sure you're all investor mentality. If you took all of the dollars, you put them in a one big pile, and then you distribute them equally to every single person, 1%ers would still be 1%ers about 5 years later, because it's a psychology, right? It's what you do with the resource that you suddenly have equity and you no longer have equity, right? Because you're going to trade into a marketplace. You're going to trade on your own psychology. You're going to give up certain things. There's a certain percentage of people that are property owners, and there's a certain percentage that are renters from property owners, right? You have parietal distributions, power law distributions all the time in everything. And so one thing, I don't like margin trading because it is the degen world, but also people are the buyers of last resort in those situations too. And so if Hedron somehow has this other token thing that you can buy those T shares that are encapsulated from the marketplace in a FUD of Hedron or a FUD of whatever, the T shares still aren't destroyed as far as I understand. I just have to be able to educate the general public about the extra security risk of being code encapsulated in other code. That's what I have to be able to do, is say this is an element and it has properties. And the use case of those properties over here may change the nature of the ROI, the nature of the investment for you. It may change your risk profile. You may be further on the risk curve than I am, in my mind, right? And if that goes to bad, I'm going to buy your T-shares, right? So I don't have a problem with minting. I don't have a problem with the position of trying to be a mini, tiny little version of an OA. But I don't like the idea that Maddie tries to put out there at this moment, which is the OA is going to defend it's almost like the OA invented a light bulb, and then every use of a light bulb everywhere in the world is going to be micromanaged and stewarded and forked out because we don't like light bulbs in this use. We don't like light bulbs in that use. I don't think the OA has the time available to them to chase down every use of hex going forward on every fork that's going to exist. So I like the principle. I like the code of hex. I like the elemental immutable qualities that's represented. And I like the social consensus that's valuing that. And I just have to be a better educator on that message going forward.
Well said.
Agreed.
Yep.
All right. Well, can we close that little loop on Hedron?
Oh wait.
For the sake of time.
For the sake of time, can Motley is very concise, and I know he listened to a lot of the chat today in Twitter. I saw him in there, whether he was active or not listening, but I saw him in there. Who else listened to the Twitter space? I have a compliment to the Twitter space. It's kind of going into the lion's den. Hedron came in, LL came in. People that were asking sound questions. Maddie came in. And they were diplomatic, and the people that have been hosting recently, Matt Hatter, I think.
Matt Hatter killed it today.
Matt Hatter,
killed it today. Amazing host. This other sex, whatever her name is, whatever.
Sequoia.
Sequoia. Yeah, Sequoia.
I think they gave Liquid Loans a pretty good hard pointed questions earlier. I didn't get to listen to that one, but I've heard that.
Well, I'm just trying to give kudos to the people that host these things, because they can be in the firing line as well as moderators, and they did spectacular today. Really great space. Twitter space was very useful today to a lot of people, I think. Also, remember, it's right now it's on YouTube. You can scroll back, you can cut it up. If anybody watches this kind of content and they want to dice something out and have little snippets, that's great source material. Use that stuff, man.
All right, so what wonderful timing for this comment, Hex Hodl. So Jexa had to defend liquid loans against FUD on Twitter Spaces. So this program, our show, mainly around Richard Hart projects, products. But if it's of my view that if somebody builds on something like a pulse chain, which is a Richard Hart product, I think it deserves to be talked about, at least in this forum, because it's our forum, so we don't have to listen to anybody else and go by guidelines or anything like that. So there were a lot of questions, and I believe Tech Dolphin posted a rather long. Yeah, he had a very good Twitter thread. Now, I have not checked it in a few hours. Were those questions responded to? Do we know?
I don't think we got actual answers from that last I looked.
Okay. And no, I'm not going either way on this. I've actually been enjoying a lot of the content from the Liquid Loans team. I like the way that it could possibly be different than some other forks like or other products like Liquidity, or at least the possibilities for it. So I'm not gonna throw my view out there right now.
Well,
but,
this
go ahead.
This is what's hard with it too, right? Because since it does come with community members, there are community members that are part of these teams that a lot of us like, that a lot of us respect. And then you're always torn between that relationship and then also trying to get the answers to the questions you want. So are those questions being answered? Are they is there miscommunication? And it's always trying to keep that civil, open discourse between the two parties. And again, it gets hard when there's sometimes friendships and personal relationships involved. And so I like a lot of the team members on Liquid Loans. Like I really do. Do I endorse their project? No, I don't. But at the same time, like Tech Dolphin, I think he brought up some good questions on the thread. And I don't personally know some of the answers. I know some of his concerns were like, hey, it looked like they might have rushed into their sacrifice phase. Me personally, and this is just my own kind of thought process on that, I think they might have sped it up because we started to see, like as the community stated, a lot more of these sacrifice phases come out, right? Like we've seen Mintra, which is that's Gerardo's NFT platform. We've seen this new one, Power City, come out. We're seeing a lot of this coming out, right? So I think honestly, I feel like the Liquid Loans guys, maybe they push their sacrifice phase a little bit sooner than what they're ready, because followed up by that, Tech Dolphin asked, like, why do we not have this on testnet yet? You said it was a simple fork of Liquidity and you just had to make a few changes. Why are we not on testnet already able to mess around with that the Pulse Chain mainnet, which I think is a fair question. I didn't see an answer on that yet. I think they might be, and again, I don't know if they're proceeding with or without an audit. I think in the past they've claimed, well, it's a fork with small changes, but like Tech Dolphin said, something as small as a parenthesis in the code can really screw up and be a huge, can jeopardize the whole thing too, right? And if this is truly autonomous and no admin keys or anything like that, you launch it and it's not properly audited, you're fucked. Like it's just done. Everyone loses their money. Thanks for playing. Have a good time. So that is a big concern. So I thought you brought up those questions amongst some other ones, even some other stuff. I know some people feel certain ways as far as your money, but I think when you're building a project, that maybe if there is a token allocation to the team, maybe you should voice what percentage of that is. I don't really feel either way on that, but I mean, again, these are concerns people have, and I don't think they necessarily were answered. If they were, I apologize because I can't be everywhere at all times. But I thought these were good questions posed, and if you don't get the answers you want, then it's real easy though, right? You don't invest in it. And then you just move on. You don't need to go to business attacks. You don't need to do all this name calling crap that I've been seeing. Just move on. Hey, you didn't give me the answers that I felt were adequate, or you just chose not to answer them, and you just move on. Pretty easy day.
Yeah, and we did have a comment earlier. Liquid Loans, I guess, has responded to each question in Tech Dolphin's Twitter thread. So I'm looking
Nice.
forward to reading those. So awesome.
Yeah, I've got social calibration commentary about that. The social calibration is Richard did it. If you're gonna ride on the coattails of Richard, the copy pasta, the answer on Twitter, again, certainly he blocked people, and certainly he didn't respond to every single thing he thought of as a concerned troll in 2019. But he did it. He did it on Twitter. He answered questions. He did it on Telegram. He answered questions. He was the front man, even though there might have been other developers that answered every question. He was engaged. He spent thousands upon thousands of hours each year, just basically cultivating and growing this community's knowledge base. And if you're going to basically ride on the coattails of the product or the culture, right? The CEO of any company, what is their responsibility? Their responsibility is to set the culture of the company, not the product. They don't design the product typically. They set the culture. And Richard's done an amazing job of that. So I kind of get a little offended over the debasement of the term hexagon. I get offended over the term, that I was here too, just like Richard, and I'm just as equal. I don't agree with that. Now, I'm not using it disparagingly, but I'm saying if you're going to use it as part of your brand affiliation, answering things on Twitter comes with it, right?
Yep.
Answering things on Telegram comes with it. Being transparent, as reasonable as possible. If you want to have a line item and say, okay, Richard never answered this, and I'm not answering this because this is what we're doing, and here's the immutable element. What I didn't like was a couple of things I didn't like. One is it's only minor little tweaks. This thing exists already as code as this other thing of liquidity or Teddy Cash or all these other things as comparisons. And when you look at the charts of those, they haven't performed. They've done shitty, horrible, terrible, right? 98% drops on all these other platforms. Maybe that doesn't play out here, but freaks me out. I don't like liquidation events. I don't think people should take out debt against collateral that much. I like unsecured debt, honestly. So some of these things I just kind of goes against my own experience base. But if you are going to engage the community, you're going to say, hey, here's a better tool that you never have to sell. You have to answer your biggest marketing tool, which is taxable event. You have to basically engage CPA firm. You have to say, here's what applies to you in this state, and this is what applies to you in that jurisdiction, honestly, because that's the biggest marketing tool that they have about don't sell, take this other token, trade it for a different token, and then sell that into the marketplace instead. To me, that still seems like IRS red flags. I just think that they can do better with the resources, or at least do something versus the cash grab that I'm seeing. I see the cash grab. I see that Richard didn't do a cash grab on Hex on its launch. It launched final. It launched immutable. It was going to live or die in the ecosystem of crypto. And that's where I stand on the product and the social calibration of the team that's promoting it.
Sorry to interrupt, guys. I got to start heading over to the workshop. So.
All right, Vince.
Yeah.
Say hello to the boys.
Later. Yeah.
Later, Vince.
Later.
Hey, Gary. So you said something just interesting to me, and again, I've only tagged in and out of some of these listening into spaces. But what I guess you said the term or phrase cash grab. So what is it? Is there a specific thing here that it's like, okay, this is a red flag that says that to me versus something else? What says cash grab to you versus another project or something? You're muted, Gary.
The 2017 ICO experience, one or two people figured out that Ethereum was a great platform to launch to basically get a cash and then make a promise that something's going to be done with that money. Now with this idea of sacrifice, it is ICO, but it's the hint, hint, wink, wink that the money's going to be maybe used for something else other than Louis Vuitton bags, right? Yeah. So when it comes to this cash out element, I don't see Hedron doing that. That's one feather in the cap. I don't see Hedron doing a sacrifice. I see everyone else doing a launch, and I really don't know if they're going to say that it's an immutable code that's launched and it lives or dies as a smart contract. What's the point of the cash up front? I don't understand what's going to actually happen with it versus the proposals that happened in 2017 that said, here's a white paper, here's what our milestones are, here's what we're going to do with it, even though it was all fiction. I don't know the reason for the money raise. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean I'm in the same. I like the fact that Richard's built an awesome community that is willing to work around, that is willing to sacrifice their money for some ideals. That's cool. But yeah, I wish I wish everybody in the world wasn't going to be doing this shit now, because you want to get more eyes over here on something that is very similar to an ICO style platform. Please do more of these sacrifices. Have us sacrificing for all sorts of dumb shit. I don't know if that's the best idea overall. I'd like to be done with that. Personally. That's just me personally. I mean, everybody can do everyone's thing, but yeah,
well, they again, we're all are guilty of the God whale being used as propaganda. Because I know that I'm like, holy shit, I wish I had $2 billion worth of crypto in a wallet. That'd be awesome. So I like that he sacrificed into these two big things, the Pulse Chain and Pulse X, and I like that he's number 2 or number 1 on those things. I love it. I think it's awesome. And then I also realized that same wallet gave $500,000 to, was it Hexy or
Tweaking Air? I'm pretty sure Tweaking Air. Also, I think Liquid Loans
$6 million to LL. They gave
love you, Godwell, but yeah.
So I love the propaganda. I love the propaganda when it's useful to me, but I don't love the propaganda when it's like, fuck. Degen. The Godwell is so rich, he's a degen. So I don't know. So again, there's that's my own issues with the use of Godwell for marketing. But yeah, that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, and I mean you see it with the liquid loans too. He took his stab at liquid loans. I think he put like 6 million in. And maybe if they do everything right and it does work and there's enough of a use case and there's enough demand for loans, for me, like you said, Gary, I don't know if it necessarily personally fits for me, because I think eventually if I am going to cash out, I think it just becomes a taxable event. Again, you have to do that research for yourself depending on your jurisdiction. But maybe if it does work out, I think he also staked his $6 million out for 2 years. I mean, he's going to be the largest holder in that ecosystem, and maybe it gives him a way to cash out of his large, because like you said, he's got billions and billions of dollars to ETH, and he can't tank the ETH price. So I think that's what he does over these past couple of years, right? He's looking for really good projects to essentially diversify in, and then get, he can get some of his economic mass out if he needs to. And liquid 100%. Loans could be a very useful vessel for him if it works. So he's gonna take that stab, and we saw that with his sacrifice. Will it work out? Maybe not. Maybe it works out like it did with Hex. Maybe it works out like some of the Hex copycats, and not so much. So time will be the biggest determining factor in all that stuff.
Yeah, and we are not throwing advice out here. These are just opinions. So like Hex Live is like, damn, I was liking Liquid Loans before the stream. So much info. This is one stream, guys. So there's a lot of really good content out there. Miyamoto, Ryan, he had a great stream with Crypto Coffee, I think. Jesse, they answered a lot of questions last week. Jexa had a good stream on it. So if you want both sides of it, tune into those streams and inform yourself too. So the Twitter Spaces discussion was great because it was point counterpoint kind of thing, and this stuff needs to be fleshed out before you do a sacrifice, and there's only a few days in this sacrifice remaining. So I appreciate everybody with their takes on this, because it helps hopefully more people make intelligent decisions about which way they want to go with their crypto.
Well, the issues I have are also calling it stablecoin, calling USDL stablecoin, that has to be paired with something. If you call it USDC, it has an arbitrage opportunity, and it is backed by dollar because Circle does what it has to do to make that pair hold up, right? To make that peg stand up. So I maybe it's confusion on my part, but I think that you have to have a buyer for USDL. I mean, you have to have an exit bridge into fiat. And I think that it might be one thing that you get away with 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand. You start pulling out $500,000 and you tell, government that it was a loan, and you don't have title to real estate or title to car or title to business, which is called the EIN transfer. If you don't have those things, it's just harder, and you're going to have to engage lawyers. And I don't think that your benefit for being the first cowboy across the Wild West is not getting arrows. I feel like you're going to get targeted. There's legal structures that already exist that rich people already use. Some of them, like Puerto Rico, me and Kurkowski, we go through government arbitrage, regulatory arbitrage. One government of Puerto Rico stands sovereign against a different Puerto Rico government of the United States on taxation. Other types of trust, if you're staying in the United States and you're an American, maybe you use the charitable remainder trust, or maybe you structure things where you take out debt against the collateral of a business business equipment, or against title to property or whatever, right? So there's tools where you can mitigate your tax cost significantly, and underneath the potential sell point of why to participate in LL. I think LL is debt, and I think that debt comes with the risk of liquidation. I think that creates opportunity for price push when times are already low and you still have to go over the edge because you lost your control of your collateral. So I'm careful about suggesting people take debt against collateral, even in crypto form.
Yeah, I mean, and that's if you get liquidated, like you better have been holding on to some of that loan that you took out, because that's a taxable event right there, yo. Like you're going to be like, people are going to not realize they're going to take money out, and then they're going to get liquidated, and then they're going to have a huge tax debt that they owe, and they're going to go, I just spent all that money. Like it's not a good situation, man. It's just like you have to be double careful when you start using tricks like that to pull capital from. You just have, and like, people think it's going to be an easier situation for them. And just because you can, sign some transactions on Ethereum or Pulse or whatever and make it so, doesn't mean that like you aren't liable for the maneuvers you make in the real world, So like be on the up and up, people, please, for everyone's safety, for all of our bags and everything else. Like the less liquidations, the better, in general.
Well, there's the risk vector of the code, and even if you say, well, you're over collateralizing 10 to 1 or whatever it is, like only take 10%. If you have $100,000 worth of Pulse, and only take a $10,000 loan. That's what I keep getting heard all the time. We know that people probably aren't going to do that. People that want capital, they're probably going to take out a higher ratio. But even if you said it was only 10%, okay, well, that means $100,000 worth of Pulse is inside of a contract that you have to trust the code. Right? You have to trust the code of the contract. We see code break, right? Not to say that code inside of Pulse won't break or PulseX won't break, the things that I believe in. I believe in it because of the thoroughness of Richard and the hiring skill set that Richard has, and the developers that are, even if they're unknown, I'm trusting a lot that Richard's
track record,
quest, his trended data, right? His proof of success, his decision-making, his thoughtfulness, right? So I'm betting really on a founder. And you do that in startup investment all the time. You're either betting on the moat of the intellectual property or the IP, right? This is an invention. Or you're betting on the founder and saying, well, the invention might not work out, but goddamn, this guy's going to make something. This guy's going to make something. And the next thing is probably going to be a 50X or whatever. And you do that. That's what Silicon Valley is all about. So speculation as a seed investor, that's really what you're doing. And I would rather bet on Richard Hart products directly, unfiltered.
Yeah. Wanted to go back. There was a super chat. This is not liquid loans related. I guess it was back on the Hedron. Is it safe to mint or even claim Hedron? I'm a noob that can't read code. I feel like I'm picking up pennies in front of a freight train right now. yes, I mean it is safe via the audit. Blue Bum, BLOO space BUM, has a couple good videos out recently. I think one with Alex, the founder. Those might help you out on that front. I think Michael Morton actually put one out. It was like a 15-minute video as well. So yeah, it should be fine. And for the claiming and minting phase, because it's read only.
Claiming's just a signature, and then yeah, I'm pretty sure it only grants read only access, but you gotta verify that for yourself.
Yeah. All right, just going through chat here. Also,
yeah, another thing about loans, a long time back, if you can just pay yourself into a separate account, there's really no point for you to get a loan from anyone. Maybe I was the oddball that was raised that way, but you can just save up this money that you think you need.
I mean, it's a different philosophy based upon, I think you just said it, like how you were brought up or what you're used to. Everybody's in a different situation, right? So some people don't feel comfortable doing the whole loan route. Personally, that's never been my thing. I like to pay for things as they come along, and when it comes to like staking or something like that, when it comes to crypto, then that's probably the side I'll play, because I don't need to get involved with trying to do different methods of trying to game the system or keep up with it. I got into Hex to avoid that, to get out of that, to lower the maintenance of all that nonsense. So I'm like, I'm totally cool with the staking side, the single side staking. But if people want to do this, that's their prerogative as well. Matty Allen in the chat, what's going on? You are catching up, 2x. Yes, webcams is also in the chat as well. There you go, admins. Have at it.
I thought that was Maddie's message.
Hey, I'm gonna catch up with you guys later. Good hanging out.
All right,
Later,
see you in
man.
Vegas soon.
See you in Vegas, baby.
Adios.
You're on the other coast. He has about 40 minutes more sunshine than I do. But yeah, webcam has a sack phase too. Very good. Very good. It's closing some things out here. Thanks for all your efforts with Daytona. By the way, Motley, and not just Daytona, Las Vegas, Talladega,
and trifecta.
And one for the fans, as they say, in Vegas, and one for the actual show and placement in Talladega. So the best of all worlds, really. I don't think we could have done it. Well, I don't want to say that because I help promoting. I like promoting this stuff, but we did it good. The community did awesome. I'm so proud of this group, and to think that it was to some people who were just like, oh well, that was just a waste of that Thursday, but to hear at the beginning of this show that far more than what was put in has already been onboarded in the Hex, and we have gravy races in front of us. We have a weekend in Las Vegas. We have a weekend in Talladega. It's all, we're playing with house money now, guys. So that was the strategy all along. And I know Kinetic says this on Discourse a lot, but it's like some things you just don't want to totally just throw out there, and the expectations game. But there are some really good groups behind the scenes working to try to do the best they can to get the word out, and individually funding Jim, RG3. You guys have been literally traveling the globe, right? So it's all a community effort, and everybody brings a different facet to the game. So that's what we're here for.
I think an interesting thing that we should think about that Richard has highlighted. Again, kudos to Motley, to Cabana, to was it Agape.
Yep.
Amazing effort, epic. news articles, all kinds of stuff that came out of it. JJ being promoting it, as far as a spokesperson for Hex. I loved all of that. I think it was very worthwhile. Big Kurkowski, even I remember when he posted a little bit of pushback over Richard saying that there wasn't a lot of onboard. There was people that onboarded because of the brand affiliation, and wow, this is maybe bigger than I thought it was. Right?
I saw people at that event with Pennzoil tattoos on their arm. The kind of brand affiliation that those fans have is some shit that like boggles my mind. Mobile gas tattoo, like the gas station. You're like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
hardcore.
I mean, the one our one cat Josh that was like that's working with our team and making us happen had a 55 tattoo on his arm already. They just changed the number to 55. 55. I mean, that's some wild dedication that if we could find a way to tap into, I mean, that's some brand loyalty that like it's just. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah,
and
and most of those you were just talking about are just sponsors, right? They're not necessarily life-changing entities unless you invest in their stock or something like that.
Or you eat a bunch of M&Ms, you might have diabetes.
But what if you can actually change somebody's life with financial security, and then you think a couple Pennzoil tattoos are it, or Mobile One or whatever. You wait till you see what's next.
The Hex tattoos, the Pulse Chain tattoos, the Pulse Hex tattoos.
All right.
I'm all about it.
And Ricky talked about this too. It's just like we got to reach out to, from the area we were in, the more kind of affluent area where like, because we had the all access passes to the pits and the garages and the owners and all that stuff. But like, I love the audience in the crowd too, right? Because like that's where a lot of us were, or pretty much all of us were at some point in our lives, just blue collar, white collar, hardworking individuals. And right now their dollar is just getting devalued, right? So like whether they know it or not, like they're all seeking out something like Hex, and it was staring them out there on Thursday going around the track. And like they might have not realized it yet, but now we get 2 more races to put it in front of them again. It's just like, this gives you the ability to earn your financial freedom back. And like this enables you to defeat something like the inflated dollar that we're having to deal with right now, and these exorbitant taxes. And like it's probably commodities, the expense of commodities are going to go up over time, potentially with this nonsense we have going with Ukraine and Russia right now. So I like who we're reaching out to in this whole atmosphere.
So I have a couple of comments about that. One is brand affiliation. Brand affiliation. Why does Richard show so many watches? Why does he show Louis Vuitton? Yeah, now he may say that it has value because that he has a tangible asset that's going to increase in value. He always buys smart, whatever, right? I don't think that a $50,000 suitcase that looks like an airplane is that much value.
He can almost fit his whole hand.
That's
in
me.
Yeah,
Okay. And I don't think it actually gets more girls than just taking them to dinner. But whatever. Okay. I think that it helps. So it's almost like that suit, that power suit. Is it the suit that gets the attention, or is it the attitude and confidence of the wearer that changes, right? And I think that in some ways, like the brand stuff that you did, the affiliation with NASCAR, the affiliation with Louis Vuitton or Rolex or whatever it is, these affiliations, is like, hey, take a look, right? This is more serious than monopoly money or whatever. It's real funds are required to get these things to happen, right? And it actually helped a lot with these ice-breaking conversations or follow-up conversations with people that already have a lot of affluence. I talk regularly with I was talking with Ken McElroy and Kurkowski and George Gammon and saying, hey, why don't you come to the NASCAR race? I've got my friend Motley out there. He'll get you on the track or whatever. And even though I knew that they probably wouldn't going to go, they have private jets. They could have gone to the event. It still just became an icebreaker. And it became a confidence thing about like affiliation of my strength of affiliation and love of X is intoxicating around these people sometimes. They'll be like, well, why are you so damn enthusiastic about a financial product? Right?
I could invite you to a race right now because of our community making it happen. It's incredible.
Yeah. So Peter Schiff had this argument with Richard, right? And his position was in times of strife, and the chart did go a little bit better for gold recently as far as the paper chart of gold. However, I have employees and I have tenants in Kiev, and they needed to get money to go over to Poland, right, to exit out of Poland. This was less than 12 hours ago. They said that my friends had reached out through Telegram, and they said that the ATMs were dry, and there were people that I've known 7 years, 8 years. So it wasn't just a scam thing. It was people that I personally know for a long time that stayed in my properties in Palo Alto in the past. So I've had an affiliation with Ukraine for 8 years. And I was messaging and say, hey, what's happening on the ground there? What's going on in Kiev? And they told me that they couldn't get cash because all the ATMs are empty, right? And they needed to be able to, they could still use debit, they could still pay. And they also had Kuna, which is their centralized exchange in Ukraine that does the most crypto volume into fiat. And they have something like the Monaco card, or what do they call it, the crypto card, crypto.com card. Mm-hmm. So I said, hey, I'll send you some money. I was holding back, I still am holding back some USDC to buy dips on when Pulse Chain and Pulse X come out. I think there probably will be some kind of dipping. So I was like, oh, I'll buy into that. So I said, okay. So I converted USDC into ETH, and then I sent it within like 10 minutes. And within 20 minutes, the guy had usable money on his debit card to buy a train ticket to Poland. Right? Now, could I have done that as a foreigner outside of this conflict with a gold coin out of my vault, out of my safe? No, I couldn't have done shit with it. Right? Couldn't have done anything with it. Are you being surveyed? NSA is surveying Cabana there. Yeah. But so the utility of crypto is here. The function of it is here. It does have some functionality to it that's above and beyond Dread Pirate Roberts or Robert Pirates or whatever. So what are your thoughts about, one, the crypto thing, and two, the I guess the crypto in this conflict stuff? Have you guys have any opinions about the Ukraine thing going on right now?
I mean, it's a perfect example of crypto, you're crossing national boundary lines in a way that money and or gold and things like that just cannot, there's capital controls when you fly anywhere, so like the ability to do that, so that they can use it within their system is, I mean, that's like anybody that says it doesn't have a use case, you're like out of your mind. I've several other people that I've helped out that way as well in other jurisdictions that like, there's no, my Zelle doesn't work or your Venmo doesn't exist there, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean that's you can't argue that. There's like anybody who wants to argue that just doesn't understand that like that the game has changed. And like I agree, 3-4 years ago those weren't exactly options, but now that's pretty prevalent. Like you said, that you named off 3 different cards that that allow that access. So I mean I can't say that it's super important. I mean, and it shows itself in these times of strife, like, as evident as possible, I mean, yeah, there's nobody's going to be, I mean, it's a hell of an airdrop to try and get yourself a gold nugget over to fucking and then try and sell that shit somewhere in the middle of trying to get out just a train ticket out.
Yeah. Another interesting argument I've seen is that Russia has a lot of crypto and Bitcoin. So all these sanctions that keep coming at them, that's their way of avoiding that. So there's both sides to this. What's going on in Canada and, getting citizens' money through, alternative means. But governments know this too. So don't, think that, it's all the population, this is going to be the way out of that, because they're already on it. It's like the fund managers telling you, once they tell you to buy Bitcoin, they've already got their stack, right? Yep. So it's I don't like the fact that I believe Russia, China, I think they've been doing plenty behind the scenes to secure their financial freedom in a sense from sanctions, and it sucks that it goes both ways, but that's the nature of the beast, right?
Again, they asked for, even my friend that's Ukrainian was saying, hey, can you repost this on Facebook? I didn't do it, but it was saying about locking down the SWIFT accounts for Russia. Yep. So that you can't get money into or out of Russia. That means that every regular citizen that's not in part of the government also can't get money, right? That they can't access something. So, and it's interesting because my Ukrainian friends from 2014, they were able to get money in and out of SWIFT. And then while I was in Ukraine, then the president of Ukraine told the Treasury Department, the treasurer, to print $7 billion worth of hryvnia, which is their national currency. And then he took control of that money and he sent it to Russia to line his bed if he ever decided to exit out of Ukraine in exile. And then the people, their economy basically collapsed. And they saw an example in Western countries and said, hey, they did this Occupy Wall Street thing. Maybe we should protest because we're Europeans. We're not Russians. Let's go to Kiev and let's protest. They protested relatively peacefully. There wasn't throwing of bricks or anything like that, but they were protesting. And the president didn't like it because he's still a former Soviet Union mentality, and he had them shot. So over 100 people were shot in Maidan in 2014 while I was there. Then it was going to be civil war. So the civil war of Ukraine was going to happen. What I'm getting at is they debase the currency. The president and the government debase the currency, and then the population suffers, right? Versus social consensus of cryptocurrency. The social consensus gives the cryptocurrency value. And honestly, if government controls all of Bitcoin, then people won't use Bitcoin. They'll move their consensus based on this us versus them narrative and not liking the powers that be, having sway over their success or failures. So all of these things are social consensus, socially enforced consensus anyway. Doesn't matter whether it's gold, silver, doesn't matter whether it's Bitcoin, hex, doesn't matter. Net positive, I think humans want good things. And, there's certainly predatory people inside those systems as well. But a net positive, money and consensus is good.
Yeah. I agree with all that.
Saw news that there were 4 million in Bitcoin donations for Ukraine. Trevor,
there's a faster transaction using ETH though.
This is true.
Within minutes, I had 17 confirmations, and it was already spendable. He'd already spent $1,000 or whatever on tickets for like 5 people to move. So
yeah, I got to wait an hour or two for Bitcoin.
Yeah. All right, gents. Well, I think we covered a condensed topic set, but rather well. And my battery is running a little low, so if y'all are good for it, I'll wrap it up. If y'all want to keep going, keep going.
Oh, this is great. This is great. I think I'm feeling awesome. I'm 25 minutes away from the sacrifice phase being over, and cannot.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's good.
I'll stay online if you're going to go. I'll go do something else, but I'll stay online.
Yeah, I could probably get off too. I'm sure my wife would love me to put the children to bed for her.
All right. Well, in that case, Big K, where can we find you, my good man?
Oh, you can find me, Big Kurkowski, on Telegram and on Twitter and on Instagram. I think it's Big_Kurkowski. And then check out thehigheststakes.com. We're gonna be wrapping that up hopefully in the next month or so, half. And that's about it for me. I mean, come check out some NASCAR races. They're gonna be in Vegas. They're gonna be in Talladega. That'll be come and support us. Get some merch and pass it out. I mean, that was like the boots on the ground thing. With the car being there is like the dichotomy of it is fantastic. Like that you need both sides because like people want to. Oh, I saw that car. Oh, let's talk about it. That side of it works great. So I'm a big fan of Hexkins being at these events if they have the time, and especially already in Vegas.
Vegas, baby.
Yeah. And you just touched on something that I don't think we went too much into, and battery life permitting, don't want to go too far into it, but the boots on the ground thing. So that was the Daytona project was put together so late in the game that we didn't really have that. Like the onboarding and surpassing of what was put in was done without a marketing tent, without any other real planning. So I can tell you that this guy over here and the guy down there, wait, there he is. Woo.
Good luck.
You guys are in good hands. There's more that's going to happen, and with the amount of notice that we have. I mean, granted, we're 8 days out from the next race.
Yeah, so quick.
Vegas is a little tight. Thankfully, it's a home game in the sense that Hexkin's already planning on being out there. So that helps for sure.
And it's not Daytona, so everything was sold out, way in advance. And for what it's worth, Daytona did huge television numbers, and they're anticipating possibly to spill over to Vegas. Hopefully all weekend. Maybe that carries throughout the year. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there that this was all done without a well thought out ground game. Motley's out there posting awesome Instagram stories of him firing T-shirts out of cars, and I was just loving it. But I know how the infield works. Like it's a bunch of good, fun-loving people, but at the same time, I was in there for a brief time. But how many people are so personable to just want to come up and ask you, what it is that you're doing, or who you're involved with, and they'll actually take time to have a conversation.
Good people.
And the infield is also, I believe somebody mentioned earlier, that's where the more lucrative folk hang out as well. So
there's many $100,000+ RVs lined up, just rows.
There are $1 million RVs in there.
And it goes under 1,000 all the way up to $1 million. It's impressive. I mean, there's a lot
More
of
money
out
than
there
you
enjoying themselves. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And they're accessible. That's where you want to be. So yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Oh, good, man. Motley Investor, where can we find you, my friend?
Yeah, same thing. Motley Investor on all platforms. Biggest thing, like Big K was saying, Vegas is going to be awesome. If you guys have any good ideas for marketing or outreach or anything like that, DM me, DM AgapeHEX, Big K. Like Cabana said, even though we have a little bit more time on this, we're still time crunch, right? Like it is within a little over a week. So
message now.
Yeah, if you have cards, pamphlets, Cast Roulette was really cool. He brought 10,000 of these Hex pamphlets he got printed for Hex Daytona that were amazing. Explained Hex, explained how to get it, Staker app, QR code. If you have cool onboarding stuff, bring it, right? This is as successful as Hexicans want to make it. We have 1,000 Hexicans out there. Let's utilize each other, our strengths, skills, whatever you might bring to the table. Bring it for that Saturday event. It is Saturday, right? Yeah,
Saturday in Vegas.
In Vegas, the 5th. Come enjoy. After that, a lot of us are going to the UFC fight. So Masvidal versus Colby is going to be a massive fight in Vegas. If you're interested in getting tickets, hit me up. I can show you what section a lot of us are in. And maybe we can do some promotional stuff out there as well. Just carry it over from the race to the UFC fight. And yeah, just again, Vegas, we learned last year was really cool because we got to build a lot of connections and grow our social network. And the cool part of it is we really did have an impact on Vegas while we were there. And we were maybe 250, 300 last year. And now we're going to have 1,000+. I remember last year when we were in Vegas, people were asking me because I was always wearing Hex shirts and stuff. And what is that logo? I see that all over Vegas. What's going on? Is there some sort of convention? And we didn't even really have a convention that year. It's just a bunch of different events and stuff. But now we have a convention. We have stuff going on. And just turn Vegas into, it's going to be a great networking event, but turn it into an onboarding and marketing event too while you're out there. Vegas will take notice while you're out there.
Awesome. Funding Jim, where can we find you?
First of all, if you're going to make any kind of flyer or anything like that, the value proposition matters more than just the logo or the .com. People don't care unless they have a reason. And Richard's messaging on that is pretty clear. So we're starting to retool how we market things. Even as an example, I had the Crypto Sparbot car here. I drove it. I got a ticket.
Amanda, you want to mute your mic?
I turned. That's the way.
Yeah. All right, cool.
I'll tell a different story at a different time, but basically I onboarded the cop that gave me a speeding ticket using that car. He didn't know what hex.com was, and he didn't care until I had the opportunity to give him the value proposition of APY, right? So that's something we should be doing on all of our contacts is, that's why people will go to the .com, is they feel like it's going to serve their best interest to do so. But as far as to find me directly, anything that's Funding Jim on all platforms, same way. I use mostly Twitter and mostly Telegram. Right now I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. Tomorrow and the next 3 days I'm in Miami, and then for the next 7 or 8 days after that I'm in London. So reach out. I think I'm going to be planning some meetups in London. But yeah, exciting. It's exciting times.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Gary. Aaron Ellis, Motley, hit up Motley. about this
Is it-
ticket that you'd like to get
that-
away?
Is that NASCAR or the conference?
Guessing. Oh, maybe the conference. I believe Quarter Panda. I have to talk to him. He was looking at
Yeah,
giving
just let us
away-
know what ticket that is, Aaron. We'll
some
find
Vegas
somebody
stuff.
for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Audie. Appreciate it.
Love to Ukraine.
All right, guys. We'll about wrap it up here. Thank you, Fun and Jim, for coming in and
Yeah, appreciate it.
talking about those recent topics over the past couple of days. And of course, Crypto Vince is here, Nardo, and as always, Big K as well, and Motley Investor. And we shall see you next week, pre-Vegas, next Friday,
All right.
5 p.m.
Good stuff.
Eastern.
Is it? Yeah, I'll be in Vegas already. Getting started early.
All right, way to go, Motley. All right,
Uh,
thanks, good. All right, we'll see everybody next week.